I knew him when he was engineering.
Yeah, that's what I know. He was freezing.
Yeah.
Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Reverend Jerry Chisholm, Martin United Methodist Church in Bedford. Jerry's an old friend of mine, and I think is about to head for the thriving metropolis of Georgetown.
Yeah, I'm leaving the county. Anyway,
That's too bad.
I know.
Thank you for being here today.
Certainly. Let us pray. Eternal and gracious God, we give you thanks for all of your good gifts, for love and compassion, for kindness, and for the many ways in which we have an opportunity to share all of those each day. We thank you for this city, and we thank you for this county. Many of us were born here and raised here.
Yes.
And gracious God, we also give you thanks for these commissioners, for the good work that takes place in this court and for this judge. Be with us now and be among us as we seek to make good decisions that are in the people's best interest and in the spirit of your grace and love. For it is in all of these things that we give you thanks. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee in Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thanks, Jerry. Good luck. You going to Southwest? Georgetown. Yeah, it's not this one, but it's okay. Mr. Manius, I'm hearing a little kind of a sound, and I'm not sure our microphones are working. Are y'all hearing it through the microphones out there, or are you just hearing it?
We'll try to turn that down.
I'm getting a little bit of a feedback, it seems like.
Okay. In fact, our guy just went back there, so
Okay.
let's see what we can do. Members of the court, we have several announcements as it relates to today's agenda. The first is under the proclamations, resolutions, and presentations. It'll be item 6A. We're going to hold that for 1 week. I believe that that individual will be joining us next week. Also, members of the court, I want to remind you that in 2 weeks, on April 18th, that our Commissioners' Court is going to start at 9 o'clock in the morning. And we will, once court is over, we will have you transported to the new arena area out at Will Rogers for the groundbreaking that day. Also on April 25th, which is 3 weeks from today, we are not going to have Commissioners' Court at that time. And then finally, members of the court, on April 18th, which again is 2 weeks from today, the Citizens Blue Ribbon Committee will be meeting at 2:30. We'll talk a little bit more about that meeting when we get to the briefing agenda today. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of March the 28th.
Move approval.
We have motion and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a few proclamations and resolutions today. The first, Commissioner Brooks, I believe you have one on the National Crime Victims' Rights Week.
In recognition of National Crime Victims' Rights Week, we have a proclamation that I would appreciate it if you would read into the record.
Yeah. Whereas Americans are victims of more than 20 million crimes each year affecting individuals and communities, and whereas providing victims with knowledge of their rights and available services further strengthens their ability to recover by restoring a sense of self-empowerment, and a trauma-informed response to victims promotes healing and fosters strength in survivors. And whereas unaddressed trauma from victimization weakens the resilience of victims, while victims who feel understood and supported are more likely to disclose their victimization, seek services, and participate in the justice process. And whereas multidisciplinary response involving collaboration among victim service professionals, criminal justice officials, legal professionals, medical and mental health providers, and community leaders is essential to reach and serve all victims, especially those who are marginalized, have disabilities, or live in remote locations. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 2nd through 8th, 2017, provides an opportunity to recommit to ensuring that all victims of crime, especially those who are challenging to reach or serve, are afforded their rights and receive a trauma-informed response. And whereas Tarrant County is hereby dedicated to strengthening victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building resilience in our communities and our victims' responders, and working for justice for all victims and survivors. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim the week of April 2nd through 8th, 2017, as Crime Victims' Rights Week throughout Tarrant County. And further that we reaffirm this county's commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 4th day of April 2017.
I move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, we are a compassionate people, and we try to deal with victims of all sorts of crimes and to prevent the victimization of our people. Today, we are recognizing National Crime Victims' Rights Week, but as you look around this courtroom, you see teal ribbons and persons dressed in teal across this chamber. That is in recognition of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we hope to have a proclamation up next week to recognize that occasion. But today, we have with us Lori Clarida from the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office, Victim Assistance Coordinator, to accept this plaque.
She's coming. She's coming. What'd you do?
I don't know.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. On behalf of the Tarrant County Coalition of Crime Victim Services, I would like to thank you for issuing this proclamation in recognition of Crime Victims' Rights Week. I do have up here with me Sandy Branch from Mothers Against Drunk Driving. She has an invitation for each of you to our event on Thursday morning. This will be our 14th annual tribute to victims. We will be having the event Thursday, 3 p.m. at the Women's Center. And I invite each one of you and all of the members of our audience to come join us. And even though I'm the one up here at the dais, I have several members of the Tarrant County Coalition of Crime Victims with me. If y'all would stand up, please.
Don't be bashful.
Don't be
Y'all
shy.
stand up.
Our group represents law enforcement, our judicial system, sexual assault, drunk driving, and all other types of crime, including child abuse. And we all work together to make sure that our crime victims are served as best to our abilities in Tarrant County. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here today. Commissioner Wynn, I believe you have a resolution.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. We, on behalf of the Commissioners Court, we presented a congratulatory resolution to the University of Texas at Arlington for hosting the National Association of Veterans Upward Bound Conference in Arlington. It was already presented, so I move for its ratification.
Second.
A motion is second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have a proclamation regarding World War I, the 100th anniversary.
Yes, and thank you, Judge. I'm going to read the proclamation. We have a number of people who are here for this, and I want to recognize them. We have Tyler Roberts, Anita Robeson, Steve Meyer, Jim Hodgson, Brittany Spraggins, Don Youngblood, and Bob Holmes, and I'll have y'all come up in a few moments after we read this. Whereas April 6, 2017 marks the centennial of America's declaration of war against Imperial Germany and America's entry into the First World War. Whereas men and women from Tarrant County have served with distinction in the armed forces for the Great War and the wars to follow, and they continue to serve in defense of our freedom in the wars against terrorism. And whereas pilot training fields were established in Fort Worth during World War I under the direction of the United States Army Air Service. And whereas Tarrant County is home to the Naval Air Station, Fort Worth Joint Reserve Base, formerly Carswell Field, and countless military veterans of all military services. And whereas the United States Congress has officially created the World War I Centennial Commission to educate, commemorate, and honor this event in our history, and the state of Texas has created the Texas World War I Centennial Organization under the Texas Historical Commission to do the same. And whereas more than 4 million American families sent their sons and daughters to serve in uniform during the Great War, with 116,516 U.S. soldiers giving their lives in combat and another 200,000 wounded. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim April 6, 2017 as World War I Remembrance Day in Tarrant County. And further, we encourage all citizens to remember and commemorate America's entry into the Great War and the great sacrifices that awaited its citizens 100 years ago. In witness whereof we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 4th day of April 2017. I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion is second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And if I could ask all of that group to come up, we would present this. Who shall? You're going to be Jim. You're going to be the guy. Come sit right here. Why don't y'all come around here, and then after that, why don't you, if you have a few words?
Yes, sir.
Y'all come on.
Come around here. Sure. And we'll take a photo.
If you can't see the camera, it can't see you.
It's a good way to look at it.
No. Now, I know that don't work. Good try.
Judge Whitley and Commissioners, thank you for the proclamation. We do appreciate that. 100 years ago, Texas was introduced to the world, and the world was introduced to Texas because of the First World War, and nothing would ever be the same. Over the next couple of years, there's going to be many opportunities for people here locally and across the state to learn about the importance of how Texas was changed and how Texas contributed to the war. We're going to start with this coming Saturday at Veterans Memorial Park, with a commemoration there. We're going to have the honor of yourself being one of the speakers. The people who are with me here this morning represent about 20 to 25 organizations across North Texas who have been working for the last year and a half for an exhibition that's going to take place at the Fort Worth Central Library beginning in July and running through October. That'll be the first of two. So you'll hear much more about that. And we appreciate that you brought this to everybody's attention, and we're encouraging everybody to wear a poppy pin for the next couple of years at least.
Well, we appreciate you being out here today. As I was growing up, I had the opportunity to be in an organization, and the executive director of that organization was a youth organization. And he actually was stationed at Camp Bowie. And he used to tell stories about his times when the camp was originally formed, and he participated in World War I. And so as we talk about this today, it brings back some fond memories of that individual. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
I would also like to thank our archives, Tarrant County Archives, and Dawn Youngblood, or Dr. Dawn Youngblood. She has prepared a timeline of the World War I activities and events that took place in Fort Worth and in and around Camp Bowie and in the area. And Rebecca Barksdale, raise your hand, has copies of these. Very interesting read, and I would thank Dawn very much for putting that together.
Don, stand up and let us thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Now comes my favorite time of the month, and I thank all the other commissioners because they get to make fun of me while I try to pronounce most of your names.
No, we don't do
No,
that.
you don't. One of these days, we're going to start a rotation of this. But it is really it's really my favorite Tuesday, because it is an opportunity to, in a small way, recognize and thank all of you for the jobs that you do day in and day out to make this a great place to work, to raise a family, and to live. And you make it not only for the Tarrant County family, but you equally make it for all of the citizens who come in contact with us over the month, the days, the months, the years. And we cannot thank you enough for the way you handle yourself and for the jobs you do. So as we get started, I'll start off with the 5 years. When you hear your name or what sounds like your name, you know where you are in the alphabet. You can figure it out. So if it doesn't sound like it should, but you know it's the alphabet, go ahead and stand up anyway, and it'll make them laugh, and I'll just keep on struggling. We'll start with our 5-year employees. Francis Barber, Information Technology. Karen Clark, Sheriff's Office. Cynthia Esparza, Medical Examiner's Office. Eric Counts, Sheriff's Office. Sheldon Kelsey, Sheriff's Office. Joseph Otebray, Sheriff's Office. Terry Parsons, Sheriff's Office. Well, they had some pretty difficult names, and ain't not one of them here yet. John Rodriguez, Sheriff's Office. I think I can get this one right. Catherine Rotter.
She's here.
She's here too, yeah. She has to put up with me every day, which is almost as bad as having to put up with Wilder every day. Devin Sanders, Precinct 3. Where's Devin? There's Devin. Baron Warren, Medical Examiner's Office. Olivia Welch, Sheriff's Office. Lyanna Younkins, Domestic Relations Office. These are our 5-year employees. Let's give them a big hand. Now for our 10-year employees, Chad Edwards, Facilities Management. There's Chad. Johnny Gilbert, Constable Precinct 3. Haley Goff, Justice of the Peace Precinct 2. There's Charles Holland, Sheriff's Office. Hey, there's one. Lee Langston, Sheriff's Office. Camila Ledbetter, Public Health. Diana Lee, Purchasing. William Marks III, Juvenile Services. Ruben Martinez, Sheriff's Office. Kevin Morgan, Sheriff's Office. William Walker, Medical Examiner's Office. And Thomas Wall, Sheriff's Office. Let's give these 10-year employees a Now for our 15-year employees, Joseph Agen, Information Technology. Brianna Chancellor, thank you, Human Resources. Linda Collins, Criminal Courts. Florente Estolano, Sheriff's Office. If it sounds like it, stand up. Jessica Gray, District Clerk's Office. Matthew Hayden, Sheriff's Office. Thank you, sir. Judge Hennigan. I'm sure he's busy in court this morning. David Pretty, Sheriff's Office. Lee Swan, District Clerk's Office. Richishaw Weathersby, Sheriff's Office. Did I come close? I didn't.
Will you educate us?
But I got the Weathersby right. Hey, look, 500 is, that's a pretty good batting percentage. I'm just telling you. Thank you. Thank these 15-year employees. Now for our 20-year employees, Carol Capps, Justice of the Peace Precinct 4. Hi, Carol. David Denise, Constable Precinct 5. Pamela George, Juvenile Services. Amber Halton, Information Technology. Todd Matea, Juvenile Services. Andrea Smith, Sheriff's Office. Mark Smith, Sheriff's Office. Brenda Torres, Criminal District Attorney's Office. And these are our 20-year employees. Now for our 25 and plus year employees, I call and talk with them. Sometimes it's very close to the day that we're having this. I did it this week. I did it on Sunday this month, and we're now getting to the point to those who missed the 20 years because I changed it. We're now getting to the 25 years where I've not talked with them before, so it's kind of an old, instead of since the last time we talked, it's okay, now we're going to get to find out all about you. Our first is Lisa Adams, 25 years with the district clerk. There's Lisa. Started in records management, then transferred over to the district clerk's office. Has always been in the civil division. She's now working in the 236th court with Judge Tom Lowe. When I asked her what she liked most, she said it was the friendships. And she said it was watching those friendships as they went through lives. It was celebrating the kids with them and watching the kids grow. It was celebrating the joys that occurred in their life, and it was also being there for the sad times when there would be a loss or something along that type of line. She said, I really have enjoyed my time with the county and the making of friends. Lisa, thank you very much for your 25 years of service. Next is David Curl with the Criminal District Attorney's Office. David wasn't sure, is he here today? He wasn't sure he was going to be able to make it. So if you see David, be sure and congratulate him on his 25 years of service. You know, he works in the appeals, I guess, post-conviction area. And so I made the assumption that he had had a chance to work with Chris Marshall because I knew Chris was with appeals. And he mentioned the fact that he had worked for Chris 3 months before he was shot. And so Chris was a good friend and a great county employee. Next is, now here comes one. Dominic Delbrosky, the Sheriff's Office, 25 years. Is Dominic here? He also, what he indicated that he was in training and he wasn't sure he was going to be able to get away. So when you see Dominic, please congratulate him on his 25 years of service with the Sheriff's Department. Next is Dee Gaussing, Constable Precinct 5 Administration. There she is. Started out in the pretrial release and I think spent about 10 years there, and then was 1 year with Precinct 4, and then the rest of the time she's been with Precinct 5 as the office manager there. She said her most memorable moment was when the tornado hit. She said, I had left the office and I was heading, and then I turned around and headed back to the office because I felt like I was going to be much better inside than I was going to be outside at that point in time.
There you go.
She said, you know, and a couple of y'all even said, you know, I know you hear this all the time, but it really is, this is really like a family. It's an extended family. We spend as much time here as we do with our other family. And she said that now that, you know, she's been here for 25 years, most of the deputies are younger than her. And she says, I just really appreciate the way they treat me and the respect that they give me in this particular area. Everyone is there for one another. And it's not that you're just looking out for yourself. It's really working there. She said, I have enjoyed working here, and I can't think of a place that I'd rather be. Dee, we are very glad that you've been here for 25 years, and we hope you'll be here for a lot longer. Thank you. Next is Lisa Love Martin, Assistant Director, Human Services. There she is. Started out in Human Services as a caseworker 1, then moved up to a caseworker the next year. I think it's supposed to be caseworker 2. In 2013, she was promoted to Assistant Supervisor, and then in 2016 became the Assistant Director. When I asked her about a memorable moment, she said, I said, over the years, I know there's got to be those clients that just really stick out. She said, yes, there was a client one time that came in, had no income, could not work because of the disability that she'd had. And basically, what it was is that her whole body had to be covered from the sun. She could not have any sun exposure whatsoever. And she said at the end of the interview, at the end of the time that we worked, she said the client hugged me and she said, I want to thank you for treating me with such respect as she went through that process. And I think that speaks volumes about you and the way you take your job so seriously. And I think it also speaks, I hear that more times than not, about the way you treat the people who you come in contact with. And we thank you very, very much for that. She said, what I like most is, she said, I love being a social worker. I love coming to work and knowing that I'm going to have a chance to help someone every day. She said, certainly the stability, the pay, the benefits are very important. She said, but you can just tell that the folks here are really passionate about public service because we have such a low turnover rate. She said, I love the opportunities that I've had to develop the outreach. She said her mom is 89, and so that's one side of it, but she just came back from, I think, Fresno, where she was celebrating a new grandbaby. So it's kind of, it's both sides of the extreme. Lisa, again, thank you very, very much for your 25 years. Next is Delbert Martinez, security in the courts, and Delbert didn't think he was going to be able to make it, and it looks like he was right. So when you see Delbert, please thank him for his 25 years of service. Next is Susan Powell. There's Susan. Started in the auditor's office and was there until 2005, and then she moved to public health. Now, she made a bad decision at one point in time because she had the opportunity to come to work for Precinct 3 maintenance. And you know, she just chose to not do that. With public health, has been very happy in public health. But I'm sure she'd have been happy in Precinct 3, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
That's when Mary Kaiser retired.
Oh, it would have been life-changing.
You know, she said, I remember when I came to work, you know, dress was a lot different. She said everybody was in, you know, dresses, heels, pantyhose. I know that's a little bit too much information, but you're going to understand that a little bit more in just a minute. Just, you know, we're going to get to page 2 of this story. She said we didn't have internet, emails. You could go to work in Commissioner Johnson's office today and not have. Not all times have changed.
Some of us don't need it.
That's right. When I asked her about her memorable moments, she said, well, I don't know if you know this, but everybody else in the auditor's office certainly knows this. She said, Judge Vandergrift, consummate, you know, just a gentleman. And one day had to tell her that her skirt was tucked into her pantyhose. Remember me telling you about them pantyhose? And I asked her, I said, you don't mind me telling? She says, well, heck, everybody on the 5th floor knows it. So, you know, the word was out. What she liked most was the friendships that she's had a chance to form. She said, you know, there's some difficult people, but she says, you just kind of look at them and know that the difficult people are the people who you don't want to be, and that all the rest are folks that you just really enjoy being around. She said, I've had a lot of friends retire, but we still stay in touch. And I've seen that in a lot of different situations from that standpoint. She said, when I asked her about anything, she said, you know, when I came here, it took all day to print payroll. And it would come out of a machine, and if a check got messed up for whatever reason, then it had to be typed on a typewriter. And I think we still have that. We probably ought to take that over to the 1895 Ware Museum and just show that we still have a typewriter around here. But Susan, we very much appreciate the 25 years you've given us. Thank you. Next is Mike Thompson, Sheriff Confinement, 25 years. There's Mike. Started out in the old Belknap facility, went to Green Bay, back to newer Belknap Correction Center. He's now at the bond desk. When I asked him what he liked most, it was just meeting new people and making new friends over the past 25 years. He said each day is different. He said you never know what is coming, therefore you must be ready for anything. He said, I have 3 great kids. One just finished college, one's finishing high school, and one's a sophomore in high school. And the senior, as I recall, in high school, won her class at the Houston Livestock Show, and her class was the Red Angus Heifer class. And that's probably the largest show in the state of Texas. So that says a lot for her and for her dedication to doing that. Mike, we appreciate very much the 25 years of service you've given us. Next is Joe Vega, Cscd Felony Courts. There's Joe, been here with us for 25 years, started in Cscd, currently is the senior court officer for Judge Wish in the 372nd Court. When I asked him what he liked most, he said it was all the judges and the DAs that he's had a chance to work for. The overall environment in the courthouse, again, the feel of the family. he said, really, everyone does try to help each other out. And that's something that he feels like makes it such a great place to come. He said, when I first came here, he said, I didn't know a soul. I expected to be here for 1 year, and then I was going to move back to El Paso, where I had been, where I'd grown up. He said, I met my wife, and 25 years later, this is his home, and he's very, very proud of that. And Joe, we appreciate the 25 years of service you've given us. Thank you. Next is Randy Bannister, the 371st District Court. How you doing? You didn't bring your wife with you? She didn't. She wouldn't come. Rhonda, his wife, retired, let me see here, a couple of years ago, I guess. I've got this down here. Retired May of last year and was in Precinct 3's constable office there for a number of years. He is in Judge Westfall's court since January of 7, and then all the time was in the sheriff's department. Most memorable moments just was the supervisor since in 1989. He said, I've had a chance to work with a lot of good people. He said, I'm glad to be here, and that the county had been a great career for him. His daughter, when we talked 5 years ago, his daughter was in college at Stephen F. Austin. His son, Colby, had gone to the Special Olympic World Games in Greece, where he had competed in gymnastics and had brought home a gold, 2 silvers, and a bronze medal. My goodness. As I said earlier, his wife had worked 28 years at that time for Constable Hilger. Now, when I talked with him just recently, he said time continues to fly by. His daughter has now graduated from Stephen F. Austin and is working in Birdville, where she teaches English. His son is still looking forward to go to other Special Olympics. In fact, in 2014, they went to the Special Olympics in New Jersey, but he didn't make it back to the World Games that year. But he has been working with Senator Hancock, and in the vehicle registration, when you register, sometimes you can make donations to certain things. And Senator Hancock made it possible for one of those donations to be the Special Olympics. And I believe you said that I don't have the amount down, but wasn't it around $70,000?
Brought in $140,000 the first year.
Well, it was close. $140,000 the first year on that. Randy, thank you very much for your 30 years of service. Next is Sue Caldwell. Sue, 30 years, tax office. Sue started work at the First National Bank of Fort Worth. And she worked there for about 7 years, and the bank changed names 5 times during that 7 years. I tell everybody, I recently met a banker in town that had never moved out of the particular office that he was in, but he had 29 different cards in that period of time. And it's still happening, happening right and left. She started out and she managed the property tax area for many years. And then, and I got to be careful about this, she created the Quality Assurance Department. And the one thing she kept saying about that department was how great the folks were that were working for her in that particular department, and how much she enjoyed, 1, creating the department, and 2, being able to work with some just absolutely great folks. When I asked her what she liked most, she said originally, when Betsy was still the tax collector, she says, I just have had fun. It was a very innovative place. She said, I have enjoyed all the folks that I've had a chance, all the tax assessors I've had a chance to work with. She said, I've made some great friends while I've had a chance to be with the county. When I was back in the accounting profession, I would do educational seminars on the ski slopes. Now, we didn't actually study on the ski slopes, but I did give some seminars in buses, and I gave some seminars in hotels, and her brother was one of the folks that I met, him and his wife Sandy, on those trips. So I still see Bill and Sandy quite a bit, and we still laugh at some of the trips that we went on. She said when I asked her the funniest things she had seen, or one of the memorable things she had seen, she said, I walked out of my office one day and this bat was walking down the hall toward me. And so she said, I decided I might want to go back in my office. That bat has reappeared. In fact, 2 of them I think we saw in audit in the last couple of weeks. Is Renee down there?
Yeah, we've had bats.
We've had bats.
On more than one occasion.
On more than one occasion. So the bats are still flying or hanging around.
I'm sure there's stuff there somewhere.
Yeah.
They're probably,
Yeah.
are they coming out of Debbie's office?
When I asked her kind of what had occurred over the last 5 years, she has a daughter that's, I guess, living in Austin and started their own office, or her own office. She said it really is so different from the day when she first started. But again, in ending, she kind of ended as she began and just said she really can't even begin to tell folks how great she feels about the folks that work for her in her quality assurance area. Sue, thank you very much for the 30 years of service. Next is Tammy Gunner, 30 years of service. And there she is. Don't you standing up back in the back so you know everybody's. Make sure you wave again so everybody can see you back here. She started off in the child support area in May of '85, and then she quit for about 10 months to stay at home with her son. Then came back and started. When she came back, she came back to child support. But then in '98, she went to work for the district clerk as a trust accountant, and now she is the, wait for this, administrator, registry, funds accountant. Okay. I can do better with those than I can with names. She said her memorable moment was when Chip Moody, it was a broadcaster many years ago, and they had to kick the can, and apparently Chip Moody and Tom Hughes, who was the district clerk at that time, had to wear jail uniforms. So that was one of the things that she said, would always stick in her mind. She said, what I like most are the friends that I've made, the people that I've had a chance to work with. She said, I really grew up with the county. She said, when I started working, I was 19. So now you can figure it out yourself. She's raised 2 kids with Tarrant County. She said her daughter now works for the district clerk. Taylor, is Taylor here? There's Taylor. Raise your hand, Taylor, so everybody can see you too. Now and you've already done the calculation, haven't you? How long it's going to, whenever she retires, you're going to know how many years you have to work a little bit more than what she did. Now, she said that her boss, Andrea, where's Andrea? Right there. They grew up together. Now, she told stories, Andrea.
I heard them.
You experienced them. But she said, you can't say anything because she's got stories too. But they grew up together since the 7th grade. And so they have not only had a chance to work together, but they really have shared a friendship and have a link that not many folks have an opportunity to do. Tammy, thank you very, very much for your 30 years of service. Next is Carla Phelps. There she is. Started in the county clerk's office and worked there for about 10 years, and then moved over and worked for County Court at Law number 3. Started off, I believe, with Judge Kais, and then in 91, she moved over, I believe, at that time to Judge Rabel. I didn't get that right, did I? Because Kais was still here in 91. It was after Kais left that you moved over to Judge Rabel a year later, around that point in time. She said one of the things, she said her most memorable moment was going through the condemnation for the ballpark and all of the land that had to be taken for that particular area. She said, I love working in the court. Every day is a little different. She said, I've learned a lot and really loves the legal profession. Well, I'm glad somebody does. When I talked with her last, she said time was really flying by. She had become the court coordinator for Judge Rabel. Never thought this was at the 25-year mark, never thought she'd be here for 25 years. She said, I actually remember when I came to work, we were writing in books. Now, over the last 5 years, she says, well, not a whole lot has happened over the last 5 years. She said every year she's still learning something new. She still loves working for Judge Rabel. He didn't make it over today, did he? No. Well, you tell him, and I won't say anything nasty about him since he didn't make it over. If he'd have come over, I'd have said anything. You know. She has one grandchild and one on the way. She said she's raised her kids, and all that's happened in her time with the county. And she just really appreciates that time and really has enjoyed being here. Carla, thank you very much for your 30 years of service. Ronnie Reddick, medical examiner's office. Now, Ronnie wasn't sure he was going to be able to make it. And when I saw that the other medical examiner's folks didn't make it, I figured that he wasn't going to be able to make it either. He's been with the medical examiner's office for 30 years. Dr. Pirwani hired him, and he just did not have enough good things to say about Dr. Pirwani. So if you see Ronnie or have an opportunity to talk with him, congratulate him on his 30 years of service to Tarrant County. Last is Luanne Spurrier, 30 years of service. There's Luanne. Started off in 1987 with Judge Brigham in County Court of Law number 1, which I guess became the 233rd in 19. No, you went to the. He moved. So you went with him in 1989. I told you Debbie knows where all the bodies are buried. And then started with Judge Harris, I believe, in 1995. She said she moved from the old courthouse to the civil and is now in the Family Law Center. She said, I have really had an opportunity to work for two great judges, and Judge Brigham and Judge Harris, who have made it a lot of fun. Now, they kid around a little bit. They're kind of pranksters. And she told the story with Judge Brigham that they were going to a ball game one day, and that he told everybody what to bring. He was going to bring the chicken, and they were supposed to bring everything else. And they got out to the ball game, and there wasn't no chicken. He either didn't bring it, or he forgot it, or for whatever reason, he didn't have no chicken. And so they decided that the next day, he was in that court that had the old shutters where you could look out on Main Street from time to time, and he would occasionally he'd open them up, and while court was going on. And she said they decided they were going to mount this rubber chicken. They were going to hang it behind those wooden shutters. And they had to wait a while before he finally turned around one day and opened those shutters. And there was that rubber chicken hanging. And she said they had to recess court because they were all laughing so hard that they couldn't very well just turn around and start carrying it on again. But they were always pulling a prank on one another and really enjoying their job. And I've always said, none of us should take our job so seriously that we can't have a little bit of fun with one another as we go through that. She said, in divorce court, there is always something strange going on. So just when you think you've seen everything, trust me, you haven't. She said, what I like most is the benefits that the county offers and the appreciation the county shows for their employees. I want to see if she had been a freelance court reporter prior to the county, was concerned that coming to the same place every day would be too boring, but that was not the case. When I asked her about her 25th year, she said, I couldn't believe how fast things had gone by. I got married right before her 20th anniversary, and she said, I really enjoy working with the county in the way the benefits, the ability to being able to accumulate time. Now, when I talked with her just recently, she says, I really appreciate that because her husband fell off the roof last year. And she had built up a lot of time. So those of you out there who spend every day, as soon as you got a day to spend, want to listen to this story. Because she was able, because she had built up that time, she was able to take time off and help him recover from that fall. She says the staff have been great. She said, I really enjoy working with them, and I enjoy their company. And I think that says it all. Luanne, thank you for your 30 years of service. Now that represents 900 years. 900 years of service to Tarrant County. We thank you. We wish that we could do more, but we appreciate so much your passion for public service and the way you treat people every day, day in, day out, when you're not feeling good, when you're feeling great, when they're not feeling good, and when they're feeling great. So thank you very much. Refreshments, 504C. Again, let's give everybody a big hand. Speaks volume. Consent agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously, more or less. Well, we got a quorum, so keep on trucking.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have 4 additional items to bring to you this morning. The first one, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve a real estate contract between Tarrant County and the City of Fort Worth for the purchase of real property located at 350 West Belknap Street.
Move approval.
Second.
There was absolutely no question as to who was going to make that motion.
Nope.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No discussion.
Please vote.
Over 30 years to get that done.
Not quite.
Members of the court, we can go to item number 2. We're requesting that the court approve a real property lease between the county and the city as relates to certain pieces of, or certain space which is located in 350 West Belknap Street.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, you might remember last week we talked a little bit about a legislative policy statement as related to property tax exemption for homestead exemption in the county. You would ask that we go ahead and put together a legislative policy statement. We have included that as item number 3. We're requesting that the court approve a legislative policy statement in support of a property tax exemption expressed as a dollar amount for market value of residential homestead.
Where is that in our agenda?
It is item.
A copy of it.
It should be the third copy in the, or the third piece under the county administrator section.
If you would like, I can read it if you don't find it.
It's not in mine.
I move for approval.
Second.
We have motion and second, discussion. You know, the one thing I would just add is that I feel much better about a dollar amount than a percentage. I think that allows us control, and it really will have more impact upon folks with lower income, and I think it's something that I would support very much. Any other questions or discussions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Ms. McMillan is going to address the court on item number 4.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. We're asking today that you approve the resolution providing approval of the issuance of 2017A retirement facility bonds by the Tarrant County Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation for SQLC Senior Living at Corpus Christi, Inc., Mirador, in an amount not to exceed $80 million. The proceeds of these bonds will be used to refinance Series 2010 Tarrant County Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation bonds, which originally financed costs for the Mirador Continuing Care Retirement Community located in Corpus Christi. Mirador is one of the 6 senior living facilities under the Senior Quality Lifestyle Corporation structure. The Staten at Museum Way in Fort Worth is one, the Edgemere in Dallas. These are all that we have, the approved bonds issued by the Cultural Education Facilities Corporation in the past. All public hearings were held on this, including in Corpus Christi and here in Fort Worth, and a letter has been submitted by SQLC acknowledging the county's HUD policy. Again, the approval of these bonds is strictly for IRS tax-exempt purposes, and the bonds are issued by the Tarrant County Cultural Education Facilities Corporation. We're asking for your approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have motion and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Ms. Tidwell.
Bats, huh?
Pardon?
Bats, huh?
Yeah, we have bats. We have. We have
They
2
call them a
items.
little gecko that
Gecko?
some of the folks didn't like. I can imagine what it was around there when they saw that bat.
Well, yeah. When I first came here, it was the first time I'd ever seen a bat inside as well, and that was 20 years ago plus, and I remember seeing that bat in my office, so yeah.
The garbage.
It's interesting.
Have you ever tried to eliminate it?
No, some of them still work here. I knew that's where we were headed, so I'll just go ahead and go there. I still work here too, the old bat, so, you know. Anyway, moving right along.
That's a good idea.
We have 2 items that we're asking the Commissioners Court to consider this morning. The first one is to receive and file the Tarrant County financial statements for the period ended February 2017.
So move.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And the next item that we're asking the court to approve is to receive and file the auditor's report of Justice of the Peace Precinct 3 as it specifically relates to appealed eviction cases. And you have the response from the Justice of the Peace, and the only comment I wish to make about this morning is noted in the last paragraph of the summary. People should understand that we're not attorneys in the auditor's office, even though we're responsible for ensuring that statutes are complied with, and we always seek out advice from the civil section of the criminal district attorney's office. So our opinion related to the correct processing and the items that are discussed in this report were discussed and agreed upon with the district attorney, even though Judge Casey felt that there were some things that were not accurate. He's indicated in his response he will comply. But we don't practice law, so we don't issue legal opinions. We seek out advice from appropriate legal counsel before we write in an audit report that someone's not in compliance.
I'm going to move approval,
Second.
but I have a question.
Go.
Are you satisfied with the response you received?
He says in the response that he will do everything he can to comply with our suggestions. So at this point, yes, sir.
Okay.
So we still have no idea how the $4,500 was lost?
No, sir.
Still?
No.
So today is written off the book?
Well, you approved.
Yes, I remember
Right,
that.
so, no, we went to look specifically, obviously, because of that issue. That was not something that we looked at just in that, it's a very small piece, obviously, of what they do. And so we really don't know. It could have been lost a variety of ways, so.
Thank you.
And I guess we've now, there's a month since this was done.
Well, we actually were meeting with him just a week and a half ago to resolve this.
So and it goes along with the other questions. He is now doing what you have asked him to do in the last couple of weeks.
We've not been back out there. We've not been back out there. He said in his response that he will do that, but we've not had a chance to go back out there because it really hasn't been but a little over a week or so because we were working with him. We had a meeting and we're working with him on trying to reach consensus and agreement. But we do believe, and as I expressed repeatedly to the judge, that it's imperative that the checks be made out and recorded in the books and records of the JP3's office, Odyssey, and deposited into the bank as quickly as possible. I mean, that's just a standard for taking precautions to make sure that they're deposited and safeguarded.
And I know that you probably will do this anyway, but if you wouldn't mind, I would appreciate it if y'all would follow up and make sure he is now doing what you and the district attorney believe that he should have been doing.
At some point, we will go back out, yes, sir.
Okay. And if he's not, then let's talk about it some more.
Okay.
Please vote. Motion
Thank you.
passes unanimously. Ms. Glenn.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
We have 4 items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The next 2 items are waivers. The first for elections. Mr. Vickers is requesting the waiver of 141 vacation hours effective April 5th. The net cost we're estimating to be less than $1,000, approximately $600 to the general fund, including fringe benefits.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item 3, again, is a waiver, this time for probate court 2. Judge Allen is requesting a waiver of 240 vacation hours effective May 1st, the details of which are outlined in your communique. We're estimating the cost to the general fund to be approximately $20,683, including fringe benefits.
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And finally, with item 4, we're asking the court to approve a change in the TO for public health. Dr. Taneja is requesting permission to what we call repurpose one of his project positions. If you recall, project positions are in fact temporary positions. There is no fiscal impact in 2017 that we're anticipating. However, there would be an impact in 2018 to the applicable grant fund.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Benny.
Good
Morning, Your Honor. Members of the
Fly
court.
water, man.
Say what, nothing?
Fly swatter.
Water.
Oh, fly swatter. Yes, sir. Those were the bee mosquito-free fly swatters.
Bat swatter.
Yes, and they have multiple uses. Yes, sir.
My grandmother always thought they had special uses.
I understand. It swats away folks that are trying to get money. Yes, sir.
Hurt you, did that?
Huh?
She hurt you with that?
Well, I don't know that she hurt me, but
Embarrassed you.
I did feel the end of it a couple of times.
Embarrassed you.
Hurt your feelings.
Public Health has one item for your consideration this morning. We're requesting approval of the FY18 Texas DSHS Zika Fund grant contract. This money is $589,000 coming our way in preparation for the upcoming mosquito season. The funding was hung up last year, as you all remember, with deliberation, and finally it's getting here.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Beecham. Doesn't look promising. Y'all come on up here. Quit your yakking back there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
At least we were beat by the best, and our women look like women.
Oh, that,
We have one item for your consideration this morning. It is a bid award recommendation for bid 2017-059, annual contract for toner cartridges and maintenance supplies for inkjet and laser printers.
I'm just telling you, you might want to go out this way when you get finished, because the looks that you're getting back that way, I'm just saying, you might want to sneak out. I'm not sure which side I'd sneak out on, but you just
I'd
go
hit
for
the
it.
stairwell real quick.
You might want to apologize for that remark.
Do I have a motion and a second?
What, to censure him?
Well, we could have done that a long time
I
ago.
move approval.
Well, I'm going to second just because I don't want him up here anymore. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion passed unanimously. Appointments. Any appointments today? There being none, then would you please approve the claims in the addendum?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius?
Thank you, members, Your Honor, members of the court. We have two items to bring to the court this morning. Just a very quick update on the long-range planning related to JPS Health. Over the last week and a half, we've now taken tours of the facilities. And I know that both of the liaisons to the committee have made those tours. If you have any comments to the court as it relates to the tours at all?
it was good exercise,
Those tours were
physically
about
and mentally.
Very illuminating.
Yeah, those tours were about 4.5 hours each, and a lot of walking. And I think talking to some of the other members of the Blue Ribbon Committee, they really felt that the tour was essential in that they got a firsthand view of exactly what the facilities look like at Peter Smith, both on the downtown campus, also in the community clinics. And
So you all actually visited some of the community clinics
Yes,
also?
we did. Yes, we did. And so I think all around, everyone thought that it was a really good effort. Just a couple of things as it relates to the committee itself. Of course, this morning we talked a little bit about the fact that our next meeting is going to be April 18th. It's at 2:30 in the afternoon. But before that, next week coming, which is our second contractor, is going to be here in Commissioners Court. And they're going to begin making their presentations to you all as it relates to the facility analysis aspect of what we're trying to do with our study. At the staff level, senior staff level, and also with both Cumming and HMA, we are now at the point where that we believe that we have the final draft of their report completed. It's a multi-hundred-page document that we've initially have presented part of it to the Blue Ribbon Committee. We're going to continue that effort, and we're going to talk a lot about the delivery systems. Commissioner Brooks, that was one area that you were quite interested in, and that's going to happen on the 18th. We should be publishing that final report to the committee, I believe, next Tuesday. So it'll be up on our website for everyone to look at. Like I said, it's a fairly extensive report. It's been looked at by our staff, by staff at Peter Smith, and we believe that it's going to be a very credible and valuable report, not only for what we're doing now, but as we move in the future and look at things that our hospital district and how we provide medical care in this county in the future. So I think it'll be a great resource document. So you'll see that coming up, and that'll be presented to the Blue Ribbon Committee on the 18th. So that's my report as it relates to the Blue Ribbon Committee and our efforts. More than happy to answer any questions the court might have.
Any questions? Any other comments that y'all would like to make as liaisons?
I think some of the demographic make a huge impression upon me. Not only that our population going to grow to 3 million from 2 million in the next 15 to 20 years, the senior population will increase by 46% by 2021. And most of those population growth is in the periphery of the county. The majority is in your precinct, Commissioner Johnson. The indigent population, those who are within 250% of the federal poverty level, which is part of the qualification for JPS Connection programs,
correct,
is currently sits at about 400,000, and that number will grow to 700,000 in the next 20 years. And the number of JPS Connection members who are basically subscribed to that program is about 35 to 40,000 at any one particular time. Okay, so 700,000 people meeting the 250% FPL level. That's a significant jump.
Yes, it is.
That's about a third of the total population. It's a scary number. It's a scary number. It proves that we need to be very proactive and in preparation for the upcoming challenges. There are more in the mental health issues as well. A mental health issue is expanding capacity is not going to do it, because we can put 200 beds together, 200 new beds, it will be filled. So that means we need to come up with strategy to collaborate with other entities within the county to focus on prevention instead of intervention. And so I think the takeaway for me is expanding capacity is a small part of the solution, but it is not the solution.
Any other thoughts or comments?
The item that I had discussed with Mr. Manius a couple of weeks ago related to the statistics that Commissioner Wynn was just going through. It seems to me that what we contracted with HMA to do was to look at what the future of health care was going to be like 30 years from now. Not to merely take the statistics that we have and extrapolate them 30 years from now and tell us that that's what the need is. That is certainly a part of the process, but we also need to know the directions that medical care is headed, both from a technology and a service delivery point of view, because just expanding the population doesn't tell the whole story.
Right.
There may be some efficiencies, there may be some different strategies that will help us to deal with that expanded population that are different from how we deal with that population now. And I want to hear more about the future,
Right,
than just what the numbers are predicted to be.
It would seem to me like we've got to figure out, I mean, I hear what you're saying from a balance standpoint, but it is a preventative or a treatment type process, because I think we all know that if we have beds, yes, the beds will be filled. If we don't have beds, we're going to be filling other beds at 350 Belknap and at the correction center.
Correct.
And it's not that those individuals are just not going to be able to get in to get treatment. They're going to be housed somewhere. And so we really do have to look at the prevention, as you're saying, and try to figure out what the balance. And, Commissioner, as you're saying, there's no telling what treatment will be and 5 and 10 and 15, and, Dr. Flynn, who is on the committee, and I've said this many times, and y'all have heard it, and I hope you continue to hear it, him say that when he started in medicine, the knowledge was doubling every 8 years, and now it's doubling every, I believe he says 78, 79 days. So how are we going to treat mental health, for that matter, any kind of disease, any kind of preventative? What we're doing today may not be what we're doing next year or next 5 years or the next 10 years.
Commissioner Nguyen and I may have a slightly different take on this. I believe that we're still going to need those beds, but we may not need as many beds. And I don't think it's a matter of prevention so much as it is a different community-based treatment modality.
Yeah.
I don't know that there is much that you can do to prevent mental illness. At least they haven't discovered anything yet. They may know in 30 years.
I agree with you. I don't think we are in disagreement at all, Commissioner. It's expanding capacity is a part of the solution. I'm not. Yes, but we have to add other components to it, and one of those components is we may have to visit the role of public health in collaboration with JPS.
No argument there.
How can public health continue to function independently, but collaborate intentionally with JPS in the long run to basically on the intervention and the public education part of it?
Well, one of the things, I think the collaboration part is going to be a real key, but we got to be careful, I think, on the collaboration end of it, because and not with our own public health, but I'm talking about other providers in our area. We're very blessed in our area because we have two very large, not-for-profit organizations that are providing health care, and Baylor Scott and White and THR. And we have some very good private, that are for-profit. But don't be fooled that Baylor, Scott and White, and THR, that having excess revenues over expenses is paramount to their mission. Okay? That if they don't achieve that, they're not going to be successful financially. So we need to be careful who we collaborate with, how much we collaborate with them, and how dependent we get on them. And I agree that we don't need to build everything, but we're probably going to need to be somewhat in control of our patient base and not totally depend on these other entities that are surrounding us to be in control of our patient base. And then, we want to be able to, we need to take that responsibility and not put it onto them. So,
JPS is always going to be the safety net hospital for this community.
But I think, and I agree with that. I think, though, we can never close our doors to providing service also to those folks who can afford to pay. Because if we do, when we do, then the amount of money that we spend is going to be less, and it's because we can't have a blank check as it pertains to treatment. And I think we've always done a good job of balancing that, and I think we're going to continue to watch that. In mental health, we've kind of, as we look at mental health now, we've moved to the side the intellectual and developmental disabilities folks. And I think even within mental health now, we have those folks who have a genetic issue that creates some of the mental health issues. But we also have those who we're dealing with, and that mental health, it has a lot to do with substance abuse. And I think I think the definition is going to have to begin to be more clarified. I don't know that it will change the treatment, but it might certainly prioritize the treatment in some instances.
We certainly have to understand the causes of mental health. The question we should ask is why are we having such a large number of increase in mental health cases? Why? I think we have to understand the causes and then be able to measure our response to those causes. So I guess my take is capacity is important and capability is important. Management, leadership is important, but we need to kind of go above and beyond and outside of the traditional approach to healthcare. We may have to collaborate with law enforcement entities even to handle those kind of things.
Well, certainly one of the deficiencies in our mental health treatment system is that we don't have a mental health diversion center to which persons arrested can be taken who are mentally ill rather than taken to our county jail system. I continue to maintain that our county jail is not the appropriate setting to regain one's mental health. And there needs to be some place for those officers who are trained in crisis intervention to take someone.
Well, we have something along that lines. It may not be as extensive as what
you're
you're looking for.
It's the mental health emergency room at JPS.
Okay.
Plus our liaison program that we have.
We have a liaison program right now that trains the officers, and most of the police departments have participated.
But there's no there when you consider where someone is going to be taken other than the county jail.
Okay. Anything else at this time?
The only other item we have is legislative items. Mr. Mendez has included his memo to you in your backup material. I'll be more than happy to try to answer any questions you may have. If not, that's all we have at this time, Your Honor.
I would just ask that as we you keep in your thoughts and your prayers the family of the deputy constable who was killed in Harris County yesterday. And with that, we will recess our open meeting and proceed to close to discuss items exempted under Section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
He had to come back and see if he could find us.
Thought we'd lost our ways. Having returned from our closed session, there being no business to conduct at this time, we are adjourned.
Thank you. Good. Are you doing anything on the 29th?